Hello, welcome to Gear Games. Today we're going to go over arrays. Arrays are really hard to learn at first, but if you just stick with it, you will get it. And you will be able to use arrays. You'll be able to iterate through them. You'll be able to iterate through multiple arrays. And you'll know how to do that by the end of this video. Thank you for watching. Alright, so let's get started. What we want to do is start out by just having a blank slate project. So we're going to create a new one, and it'll be a console app. And we're going to do arrays, 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 arrays. And the goal by the end of this video is that you should be able to make an array, put values into the array, right? So let's do, let me convert this to main program style and then write out our objectives here so we can be on the same page of the goals. Okay, so excuse me. Initialize array, assign value, yeah, I guess that's part, assign values to array, loop through, iterate through an array, create an array of arrays, iterate through an array of arrays. Okay, so the assumption is you already know how to do hello world. We're not going to go over hello world. You already know how to assign a few variables. We're going to make it easy. We'll start out with ints, and then you kind of have an idea like, hey, I need to have structured data. I need to maintain some sort of, you know, collection or something. Well, okay, let's do that. First off, you got to know how to make the array, but you also need to identify when you might need one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a method called print many integers, right? And I'm going to make it print the integers. Right, I'm just going to do params int val use. I think that works. You know what? I think it's this. You know what? That's too complicated. I'll just put in an int array in here. All right. So we'll start off with what the naive approach is I have. I want to have like 4 variables. A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals 3, D equals 4. Now I want to like print all of these. Well, I guess I could do this, console.writeLine, and I could do A, B, C, oops, A, B, C, D. And that'll work. I can print A, B, C, D. And what we'll get is we'll get 1, 2, 3, each on new lines. Okay. And then 1, 2, 3. Okay. Great. So now let's print another one. Okay, so we got a copy, paste, let's put a 10 in there. Yeah, you can't make this part of it where you have to like have some value appear, but later on I might want to not have to write out this part down here, right? Well, I don't know. I guess I'll just keep adding them, right? That's how we do it. No, it's not really how we do it, but if you want to take the naive approach, you can keep doing it this way. And eventually this gets really annoying because you know there's a better way. Well, let's see what we can do. The answer that I would do here is I would, just for the sake of teaching arrays, I would use an array. Okay, so we've got an int array, and we're going to call it numbers, and we're going to do new int, and we're going to say 6 values. Right. So then we need to assign the values. So we will do numbers 0. Arrays start at 0. Okay. So then we're going to do A. And, you know, you got to do this. So it's a little bit of work. So now this array is going to store a different value at each one of these indexes. Indexes. What's an index? This right here, it's an array. It has indexes, or a representation of its location, and it's done with a number, right? So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So this is the position in the array, the 0th, the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd. And so what we want to do is assign A, B, C, D, C, D, E, and then let's do the 5th one here, and that'll be F. Okay, so now we have our numbers, and they're in this array. So this is nice. We have the data contained somehow. And I want to print it out. Well, okay, let's just do the same thing we did before, right? Okay, so we're going to do this. Let's do this. Numbers. Yeah, that's a little too much work. Let's do this. Okay, I'm kind of just showing off here, to be honest, but watch this. So we can just do console.writeLine, this, bam. So now we're writing that out. Okay, so just so you know, if you hold down the Alt key and click your left mouse and drag, you can actually edit multiple at the same time, and press the N key and jump to the end and the beginning and do that, right? That's a mess, but why would you want to do that? Well, because it saves time. So, all right, let's see what we did here. So we're going to print out the numbers. There we go. That worked. I'm going to put a right line here just to give us a space so it looks a little bit better. Okay, we got one section, we got a second section, great. Okay. But this isn't really the end. We should be able to do something with what we have here, save ourselves some work, and actually iterate through this thing. So what we got here is the option to use and learn something. Well, there's this concept called flow control, and one of the tools you can do is a for loop. So I'm going to do a for loop, and I'm going to fill out the sections, and I'm going to tell you what each section means. For int I equals 0, I less than numbers.length I plus plus. Okay. What does this mean? So, funnily enough, to help break this apart, I got to tell you what each section does. And funnily enough, there's funny things you can do with this, right? So, this I is an integer that we're initializing to 0. Here is a condition that we're checking every time we loop. If this condition is false, the loop will break and it will stop looping. Plus 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 here at the end is what do we do at the end of each loop. Okay, interesting. You'll mostly see loops written like this. Sometimes you'll see them like this. Okay. What do you think this is going to do? What do you think this is going to do? Right? So we know that this one's going to iterate through, well, I know. I'm going to tell you what it does. Iterate through the numbers array. Iterate forwards through the number array. What we're going to do now is just print, right? So console.writeLine numbers I. We're printing this out. So what we'll get is the numbers in order again. Let me put a little thing there. We'll run this one more time just to make it a little more clear. Okay, so we got our numbers array, and it is the same order again. Now, let's think about this. as our numbers in our list or an array grow in n size, right? So as we get a bigger number here, we're going to have to write this more and more times. Or we can use this loop that we just made. Now what if we wanted to go backwards? Oh, okay, we'll just do this, right? We'll copy this, we'll paste, we'll change the order, we'll do that. Oh man, whew, let's do this. All right, make sure you like typing, right? So here we are. Now this would print it backwards, right? All we did is we inverted everything, and here, we'll see. So yeah, it prints it backwards. But again, that's not good programming. I wouldn't call that lazy, right? You see with programming, laziness is sometimes seen as a good thing, right? This is just wasting your time. You don't want to waste your time. Okay. So instead, you make good use of your time. So I want to iterate backwards. Okay, well, start at the end of the loop and go backwards. Now, those of you who have done some programming before, you might be staring at the screen, hey, there's a problem, this isn't going to work, Let me tell you, you're right. But we're going to try it anyways to just have it be seen. One of the issues that people experience with arrays. Oh no, system.index out of range exception. The index was outside of the bounds. Oh, what is that? What does that do? How am I going to solve that? It's actually pretty simple. First off, it's already broken on the line that failed. So you want to look at it and say, okay, well, what's going on? The great thing about Visual Studio is it shows you the variables when you highlight over them. So I highlight over this I, which is considered the index in this case, and it says 6. Well, we have 6 things in the array. It should work. That doesn't make sense. Actually, the numbers start at 0. So it would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6, right? So you're actually asking for something that doesn't exist, and it's out of bounds. So to fix this, you actually shouldn't be starting at length. You should be starting at length -1. All right, let's run the program and see if it works. And here we are. The last groups of prints are these ones. It iterates forward through the array, and then it iterates backwards through the array. And that's done with the for loop. All right, well, great. What else? Like this is great and all, but what's the point? Like what else can you do with this? Is it really that big of a deal? Yeah, it is. It's a foundation. Like you need to know this. This stuff's going to show up everywhere. You're going to use it in performance optimizations. You're going to use the concept everywhere. If you don't know what this is, you're just going to use it and you're just not going to know the reality. Now, it's okay to start out that way, but eventually you're going to want to know what an indexer is. You want to know how it can throw errors and everything, and we could do a deep, deep dive in indexers. And I may have a course on that eventually that people can watch. So here's the thing. I'm able to loop forwards and backwards. I've caused issues by going out of bounds. You know what? I went out of bounds, but you know, I'm going to assign a value to that out of that spot, so it doesn't have an error this time. So I'm going to put 10 here. Let me do that. So let me assign a value to that 6th slot, right? Because maybe that's what's going on. It just wasn't right. We go through this and boom, out of bounds. What? Well, here's the thing about arrays. They're fixed. It's fixed in memory. It's not something that moves around. So what does that mean? It's not dynamic in any form or fashion. So what does that do? Since it's not dynamic, it's fixed, we can't just add on things to it. And when I was learning Java, this was one of the first things I came up against when I was learning Java that drove me nuts. I was like, why can't I do this? I had no idea about lists, array lists, linked lists, none of those things, data structure. I didn't know. Well, once I learned about them, this was super easy, and it just, I zoomed through it. So actually, the reality here is I'm not going to be able to assign to this. What I have to do is change this to 7 so it can fit it. Okay, so let's run that again. Great. Okay. So instead of me writing this loop, why don't I write a method that prints all the items in the array forwards and backwards, right? So I'm going to do that real quick. So I'm going to do print integers, this method, and then I'm going to have another one called print integers reverse. Okay, and we're going to have the same input here. So, print integers. Well, that's literally this, right? So we'll do that, and we'll do this, these values. Okay, we'll run that, see what happens. So instead of this, we'll do print integers numbers. Okay, and we'll make this static for now. Run that, and it worked. We've got our integers printed. Okay, let's print them backwards too. So we go in here, print backwards, same sort of thing. Okay, so we're printing backwards, make it static. I'm just copying the stuff we already did because, you know, we're going to use it over and over again. So I'm about to show you something that I think's kind of neat, and it might work. So we've printed out these and these. It's forwards, and now it's backwards. Great. So now that we've done that, let's see. Okay, looks like we're in an ad break. So I'm gonna do this and wait until it's over, because I just, you know, don't want to knock everybody out of their stuff. So anyways, we're gonna keep going over this and talk about this and show off a range operator. So anyways, yeah, thanks for showing up, guys. It's great to be back, and I hope this is useful for you. I've basically, you know, been thinking about this for a while, and here I am. I'm happy to be here and do all this again. And I think this is going to be the new format for a while. Just see how much people are interested and keep going from there. Okay, so the ad's almost over, so I want to get back into this. So we're going to get back into it as soon as the ad ends, because, you know, I deserve breaks too. All right, we're back. So what do we have here? We've got our integers printing forwards and backwards, and we're using a method that takes the array and deals with it. Well, we could make another array, right? We could say int num2 or others is to int others equals new, and then let's make this one like 10 of them, right? I'm gonna do this pretty quickly. Seven, 8, 9. Okay, we'll put the S here, bam, and we'll just do 14, 15, and 1. Okay, so now that we've got this other list, let's see if this works, right? Let's do print integers. Should work. And it does. So now we have this reusable code that takes in an integer array of any length. Is it actually any length? Can you have an array of 0 length? Why don't we learn? 0. We got a 0 length array. Now let's see what happens when we take in the 0 length array. I've honestly I haven't done this one before, but see what happens, right? Because that's how you learn. And no exception was thrown. Interesting. So we get in here, and why? Well, the length is 0. So we start at 0. It doesn't work. Okay, well, what about this one? Well, okay, length is 0, so it's -1, but it has to be greater, so it doesn't, both of them don't crash. It works. Great. All right. So I don't want to get too stuck on there, but there's something I want to show here. So what I'm about to show you is syntactical sugar, and it's some people you meet, they'll never even, they'll have no idea what you're talking about. But it's such a nice little trick. So basically, it's a here I'm trying to get my notes. Okay, there we go. So basically, you're going to have the ability to pull stuff, and so I haven't tested this out, but I think it's pretty neat what it's saying it can do. So let's do this. This here is going to pull the values from the 2 index to 1 away from the end of the array, right? Or the 1 away from the end index. And we're going to get a new list of numbers. So here, we're going to do console.writeLine test out the range operator. By the way, you're going to know a lot more than most people who write software when you learn these little sugar things, and they're gonna think you're nuts. But if you can convince them to use it, it will give you a little bit of an edge. So watch this. We are now printing out numbers, but we're skipping the first 2. 1 and 2 have been skipped, and then we're pulling. So this would be this list up here. We're pulling 1 back, so we wouldn't have the 10 here would be gone. So you go down here and boom, it is gone. So then we have 3, 4, 10, 25. Neat, right? So you can do that, and all it does is returns an array. You know, it'd be really neat is just writing this. So there's, okay. I think I know how this works. I've actually looked into this. So anyways, they're using indexers, but then they're using a syntactical sugar and all that stuff. But this is basically a multivariable indexer, which I can show you guys how to use eventually. Okay, so we've gone really far with arrays. We haven't even touched a multidimensional array. So I'm going to show that now. So now we have all this code here that I'm going to comment out because it is not relevant to what we're doing right now. So we're going to get rid of it, and I don't want to keep, seeing it printed out. So what you got here is kind of like a matrix, right? So I'm going to do this and this. Matrix equals new int. I'm going to make it a 2 by 2. Okay. Oops. Get my vector stuff mixed up. There we go. So now we have, I think, I haven't done this in a while. So I think, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. Cannot implicitly convert that to that and put this out of here. Expected. So this is, we're just gonna do this. We're gonna do, you know, I feel like you actually have to define the values. In Java, I'm pretty sure you can just do this, but so we'll do the first one, and then we'll, you know, I really don't know how to do this. I forgot how to do this. I can't, I mean, like, you never do it this way. At least I haven't done it in this way in a long time. So I would have failed the test, but, you know, I can show you how to do it right now. Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. All right, so it's actually got some weird syntax that I haven't used, honestly. Is the comma. Put a comma there, and then you actually have to do something like this. So that just makes it. That's not exactly what we want. We want to actually define the values. And then we're going to do 2, 4, 6. So now we have a multi-dimensional array. I want to iterate through it. I want to be able to print out every value in here, but in order. So I would say if this is the first value in the array and this is the second value in the array. So you can start out, if you want to figure this out on your own, just iterate through it like a normal array, right? Why on earth? Iterate through it like a normal array. So we've got matrix I, right? And I can do console dot right line, and we get an error. Expecting 2 indices. You got to put in the second indice. So I'm just going to put a 0 there, and we'll see what happens. Right? So we print it out, and it says index was outside of bounds. So that's weird, right? There's 6 values. That's what it says. There's 6 values. Ay, ay, ay. Do I really not know what I'm doing on this? I don't know. Outputs 2, outputs 1. I mean, it says there's 6 values. Maybe that's the length of the matrix, right? So you then have to ask yourself, what am I doing? I'll tell you. This is the length of the whole thing. So if I did this, 5, 5, 5, right? I'll do it again. It's 9 now. So that's not right, right? So what are we doing? So you have to do something like this and then do length. No, that doesn't work. Do 0, 0. And then what do we get? 0, 0, length. Nope, right? See, this is not how they did it in Java. So I'm totally gonna have to skip this one because otherwise I'm just like figuring it out on stream. But I guess I could try. Okay, so I did a little bit more here. I looked a little bit, off screen, taking a look at the examples. They're actually using get length, and it says to not use length because length is just the total length. So when you get length, and you have to pass in a variable. So the first dimension of the array, get length. There we go. It's a 2-dimensional array. So then let's see what happens. We run this and we get our first dimension, which is the first value in the array. Right? So this is, I guess you would call this the long values, but here we go. So now we want to print out more than that. We need to print out the second column. Well, I put a 0 here. That's the first column. 1, 2, and imagine the columns stacked like this. Oh, excuse me. All right, so what do we got here? We've got a matrix like this. This is what I would imagine we want to print out. I print it out. We successfully got the first section. So if I want to go through the next one, I'm just going to do a loop, another loop, right? So we're going to call this one J. See how we have two of them now? Matrix.getLength 1, J++. So iterate through an array of arrays. We're going to take J, put it here. Let's see what happens. It works. We printed out this, and then we did 2, 4, 6, or 2, 4. How did that work? 1, 2, 3. Oh, no, that's wrong. We want to print it out like this. So to print it out like this, we actually need to do this a little differently. Let me think real quick. First off, we want to print. So I guess we would do it this way actually. Now sitting here watching me do this, I'm kind of just figuring it out. I'm not really thinking it through. You could think it through, and you might get it on the second or first try. Or you can just do what I'm doing, because literally we've got an advantage the forefathers of programming didn't have. Unlimited time. No, quick compile times. Okay, so here's the thing, it's writing new lines. What I want to do is not write new lines. I want to write it like this. Well, before it was actually writing like this, but I was, messing that up. So let's go back. Here we go. We'll go back to what we had. What we want to do is not write a new line, but we want to write it in a way that like prints out one, prints out the next one, and the next one. So what I'm going to do instead is this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to print out this value, and then I'm going to put a comma after it, like this. There we go. And then let's see what we get, right? So then every one of these, I want to do console.writeLine to make it go to a new line. There we go. Look at that. You get yourself your matrix printed out. And then we could go a step further and do before and after. We would like to put, the right characters and everything. So let's do it. Let's go a step further. I'm not going to explain every little detail right now, but let's get rid of this. So we can. That $sign using the custom string interpolation, and that's why it was making a mistake. So now we've got our stuff on the outside. Problem is that the last one is too long. It's printing an extra comma. So if we did something like this, if j does not equal 0, then add comma space, we save ourselves some time. See? So let's see what that looks like. Bam. Look at that. So then let's put a space here and a space here. And now we've got it printing out exactly like I have it written above. And we've also done what I would call a multi-dimensional array. And the great part is I can keep adding values to this and it'll just keep working. There we go. Look at that. All right. So, what have we learned? We learned how to initialize an array. We learned how to assign values to an array. We triggered some exceptions. We looped through an array. We created a multidimensional array. At first I made some mistakes and then we fixed it. We iterated through an array of arrays. I also showed you a little bit of syntactical sugar, which is the range operator, which allowed us to pick a subset of the array without having to do any fancy extra coding. We were just using some of the native inbuilt language stuff. So guys, that was a tutorial about arrays. And thank you for watching, and check out my next video when it comes out. All right, see you guys later.